on a Monday. Happy Monday, everyone. Hoping that you had an amazing weekend. As you're logging on, let me know what city, what state, and or what country you just might be logging in from. Today is our absolute last day. We're going to get started right away because we are looking to finish The Power of One More by Ed Mylett. I see California, Sonia. I see you. 5 Mile Flint is in the house. Raynell, Miss Brenda Morgan. This has been a phenomenal read. And for those of you that have been with us, what's up, Keisha? The entire time, it has been so worth it. This book has blessed my life, and it's actually forced me to listen to a lot of Ed Mylett's other things. And so, listen, tag a friend, share, and tag. Please tag and share, letting everybody know that we are live. What's up? I see West Philadelphia is in the house. I am going to post it one more time that we are live on book club so that people can get on this live. 1 second, y'all. Let's just get it up. Let's go ahead and post this up on Facebook. We want to get started promptly so that we are able to get finished this book today. Hold on 1 second. Hold on, y'all. Somebody's lives are playing on my wall. Okay, we are live on book club. So you know that we'll never earn more than we learn. And it is so important. Join us now. So important that we feed ourselves so that we're growing, we're enriched, right? The personal growth and development. What's up, Mary Pal? Personal growth and development will be in Denver in August. Let me tell y'all something. Y'all know Ed Mylett, who came from very humble beginnings with an alcoholic father. You guys, lives on he owns like an island. Now, I'm just saying. All right, so we are on chapter 18. You guys, we're hoping to finish 18 and 19. And so I want to go ahead and start reading. Let me know if anybody wants to come into the studio. I will put the link right here. I know Marguerite, sometimes she's home and she may want to come and read a little bit with us. Here's the link. You would have to copy and paste it. You'd have to copy and paste this link. And I'm going to start it. It is in the comments. What's up, Charlene? All right, you guys. So we are in The Power of One More, chapter 18. What's up, Jason Jones? So good to see you here. Shimmy Shams. One more prayer. The power of one more prayer. The first gulp from the glass of natural sciences will make you an atheist. But at the bottom of the glass, God is waiting. Can you see faith? Can you touch, taste, or smell faith? Of course not. But for eons, faith has remained the single most dominant and driving force in man's search for spiritual peace and truth. I know that faith is a highly personal choice for everyone. I respect people of all faiths and the freedom to pursue that faith in whatever way brings the most meaning to each of you in your own lives. Having said that, I wouldn't be writing a book that's true to myself if I didn't share with you the significant impact of faith as a Christian has had on my life. In fact, it's had the biggest impact of anything on my life. Oh yeah, this is the chapter right here. Y'all stay with me, right? So quite frankly, I've struggled writing this chapter, not because of the deep belief in my faith, but because I want to share with you the huge impact I know prayer can have in your life. I also want to be transparent about my love of Jesus. Having said that, I also want to be respectful of your beliefs and not push you away by preaching at you. Okay? So no matter what belief or what religion you are, Ed Mylett and myself, that's how I feel about everybody. I don't care what religion people are. I don't care. I'm going to love you all the same, right? I'm never trying to force my beliefs on you. I'm just sharing what I believe, right? So this is not a chapter about religion. This is a chapter about using prayer and faith as a strategy to help you achieve your goals. And even if faith doesn't play a big role in your life, keep reading, because I'm also going to tell you how I think science can impact your life in this area as well. That leads us to a fundamental question. What is faith? We know faith moves mountains, but that only begins to scratch the surface of what faith truly is. Faith is universal. Every civilization since the beginning of time has practiced some sort of faith based spirituality. It's also fair to say that prayer is the manifestation of faith. I'm going to say that again, that prayer is the manifestation of faith. Faith and prayer combine to give you paths to peace, truth, conviction, and living by a moral code. They go hand in hand, but each is uniquely different, uniquely different. And they exist in harmony for your benefit. In one more terms, approach faith as your thoughts. Approach prayers as your actions. So faith as your thoughts, but prayers as your actions. When you combine them, they form a bond like anything, like unlike anything else. That's why it's important to think about your faith often and then act by committing to prayer often also. All right. Most people are driven by some form of faith that is strengthened and confirmed by prayers. Prayers strengthen your faith based beliefs. In turn, that defines your character, that you think about yourself and how you treat others. In fact, I can attest that one more prayer has drawn me closer to Jesus every day of my life. Consciously and subconsciously, you pray more than you realize. You may not always view it as prayer, but your mind's tendency is to think about what you want in life. You see them as desires, but in reality, desires are a form of prayer. When you desire a job promotion, a happy and loving relationship, good health or wealth, whether you realize it or not, you are engaging in a form of prayer. That leads to several questions. Are you praying often enough? Is prayer a regular part of your daily activities? Do you only pray when you need your God's help? I'm not stuck. The book's not over. I'm going to stop right there. Do you only pray when you need God's help? It's funny because I work in team atmospheres, it's often baffling to me. And I was thinking about this earlier, how there are some people that think they're a team player, but then they don't move or aren't motivated to move until something is getting ready to directly affect them. Because all the rest of the time, when nothing's on the stake, no movement. I can't get nobody to sign. I can't get a customer. And then all of a sudden, when something's at stake, all of a sudden, people are able to go into action when it directly affects them. So, do we only pray when we need God's help? How often do you give intentional thought to what it is that you pray about? Are you practicing gratitude when you pray and after your prayers are answered? How do you define faith and prayer? Just as every person has a unique relationship with their God, faith and prayer take on a highly personal meaning for every one of us. Consider how the Bible defines faith. In Hebrews 11:1, now faith is the confidence in what we hope for and the assurance about what we do not see. While there are universal truths and beliefs we can all agree on, when it comes to defining faith and prayer, we hold some thoughts based on how we perceive faith, prayer, and our relationship with our higher being. The presence of faith and the ability to pray are unique to humankind. Our ability to think conceptually above and beyond what we see, touch, and feel in the world separates us from other beings. Let me say that again. It is the ability, it's the conceptually, to think conceptually above and beyond what we see. I was talking about Marguerite the other day, how I read a book to Paige. I read it to Majesty. Brown bear, brown bear. What do you see? I see a purple horse looking at me. Purple horse, purple horse. What do you see? So it conceptually, to the ability to think conceptually above and beyond what we see, what we touch, what we feel in the world is what separates us from other living beings. Free will means that we can interpret faith on a personal level. From that interpretation, we can pray on a personal level as well. Faith has applications beyond those associated with religion. Faith relies on trust and loyalty to a duty, person, or thing. Faith relies on trust and loyalty to a duty, person, or thing. And in broad terms, faith is based on accepting a proposed truth, absent proof of truth. A proposed truth that is absent proof of the truth. You know, it's amazing. When I think about you guys, most of you know that are watching, maybe you don't know, maybe you're coming to watch a replay, or maybe you just stumbled upon this YouTube in this review of Ed Mylett's book, that I'm a network marketer. And it's amazing to me how people tell me that they believe in God and whom they do not see, but don't believe that they can have any success, don't believe that they can make any sales, don't believe that they can build a team, don't believe that they can have any no faith about the worldly things, the things that you can touch, the things that you can actually put some action in. But we cannot see God. But people believe in him. They trust and believe in God. Faith that's absent of proof. Absent proof of the truth. Prayer is more narrowly defined. For many people, the purpose of prayer is to increase our understanding of what our God calls good, while also increasing desire in us for what is good. So defining faith and prayer essentially means trusting that these things are intended to cultivate the good in us. Often people resist embracing faith because they feel like they need to know everything about a particular faith before feeling comfortable in doing so. For some of you, that type of thinking not only applies to faith, but to all parts of your life. What do I mean by this? If you feel the need to reach a certain threshold of knowledge before moving forward with something, you will become paralyzed by inaction and fall behind those who are more willing than you to step into the unknown and act anyway. To live a full life, there must be several times when you suspend the necessity of needing to know everything before you act. To live a full life, I'm going to say it again. There must be several times when you suspend the necessity of needing to know everything before you act. Can I get a whoop whoop? I'm going to read that one more time. Just one more time. To live a full life, there must be several times when you suspend the necessity of needing to know everything before you act. This is especially true with faith, because we're never going to know everything there is to know about faith. By its very definition, faith precludes this type of thinking. Thank you, Sally. We got one whoop whoop. We got one, right? For example, suppose you're the type of person who needs to know everything there is to know before jumping into action. In that case, chances are you're never going to be the person who risks starting their own business or entering a new romantic relationship. A need to know everything in advance belief system will not serve you well throughout your life. I need to take a sip. Every area of our lives, especially faith, depends on stepping into the unknown to some degree or another. Drawing strength from my faith and prayers. I'm often asked what my favorite book is, and for me, there has always been only one answer: the Bible. And my favorite scripture is Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. I am fortified every time I read the Bible. I also have a deep and ongoing curiosity about the nature of humanity, profound spiritual questions, and moral questions that have challenged me to find answers for many years now. One of the ways that I draw strength is through a simple passage that sums up the simplicity and the purity of being faithful and praying often. In John 16 and 24, Jesus said, ask and you will receive, and your joy will be complete. That is the essence of faith and prayers and the impact that it has had on my life. More than that, because I believe fully in the power of faith and prayer, I am never alone. So could it be possible, Keisha, Tedra, Jack, Raynell, Sally, that there are people who have a form of belief in faith, but perhaps they don't fully believe in faith? So throughout my entire life, I have drawn considerable strength from the positive impact of faith and prayers that has given me supreme confidence. Every time I walk into a sales call, step on a stage at a public speaking event, or when I'm simply out and about meeting and talking to people on the street, I have been rewarded through my faith and prayers too. I firmly believe that there is direct correlation between the wealth I've achieved, the business relationships and friendships that I've been blessed with, and most importantly, the ongoing and blissful family life that I enjoy. It's difficult to explain the feeling that faith and prayers have on you to someone who does not practice those things regularly. I can only give witness to what these things have done for me. I believe if practiced correctly, faith and prayers should be used as a time to search for inner peace, to reflect on the nature of your life, and to practice gratitude for the gifts that you have been given. I draw strength from the calmness that results. This helps center and focus me on what comes next. And from there, I can find purpose and energy when it's time to move forward with the various parts of my life. So now we're going to linking faith, energy, and quantum science. Linking faith, energy, and quantum science. People often ask me if my deep belief in faith means that I can't also believe in science. Absolutely not. Quite the contrary. There are three philosophies related to the fundamental nature of life as we know it. One, some people consider themselves incredibly faith-based. Two, others think of themselves as energy-based. Three, finally, others are science-based. I'm somewhat unique because I consider myself a member of all three camps. I'm a Christian, but I also believe that I have an almighty God who created the universe. I'm a huge believer in science and energy as well. In no way do I think that these doctrines conflict with each other. At one point, I used to think that what I believed about science meant that I had to reduce the depths of my beliefs in my faith. Conversely, I also thought that I had to discount many scientific principles as a way of maintaining my strong faith-based beliefs. However, as I've read and learned, I've come to realize that science has actually confirmed my beliefs in the complexities, beauty, and the marvelous nature of my faith. I'm trying to flip the page of my faith. All right. My almighty God, he created everything, or did he not? The basic definition of quantum science is that the universe is filled with particles that interact with each other and flow with quantum energy. The scientific explanation of this energy is referred to as the study of quantum physics. What I love about quantum energy is that this is where faith and science intersect. In fact, some of my most devout friends and of all faiths, including pastors, rabbis, imams, priests, and others, are very much into the idea of energy. My belief in these three areas stems from a probing question I asked myself long ago. By knowing a God exists, who put trees, animals, oceans, gravitational fields, weather, and all these other things in our world, why can't that God be the same creator of the energy we feel and experience in the world? Despite the enormity of this question, by accepting the premise that energy is felt by all of us and that God is the creator of this energy, that is far less monumental than God creating the complexity of man and woman. To me, creating an energy field pales in comparison to giving several billion people the ability to think, question, express emotions, and challenge reason and ponder the great questions of our world. Most important, he gave us the gift of finding answers to many of these questions, propelling us forward as a civilization since time began. This is in addition to the biological miracles that give each of us the essence of life. Consider God's miracles of procreation, the transfer of oxygen in our bodies to sustain life, processing food and water into energy, the gifts of sight, sound, taste, and other amazing sensory experiences we use to navigate in the world. Think about that for a moment. Truly let the question sink in as to why and how you came to exist. Not only do I believe faith, energy, and science exist to give us answers, peace, logic, order, and whatever we need in our lives, I know each of these elements exist because I personally experienced them time and time again. I've been fascinated for a long time by the unseen energy in our world, how it holds faith into my faith, how it holds into my faith and how I pray. At first glance, it doesn't seem that faith and science have anything in common. However, it may surprise you to learn that spiritual leaders and scientists have sought ways to link the two for a long time now. Quantum physics makes the argument that everything can be broken down into infinitesimal particles and waves, creating unseen energy that drives the universe. Just like faith, quantumized sized particles can't be seen, but scientists and religious scholars operate under the assumption that both have a significant influence on humanity. One of the basic tenets of quantum physics is the belief that you are creating an answer to a question by making a decision. Faith operates the same way. Additionally, if you had made another decision or used another method, the truth you settled on might have ended up looking very different. Faith leads you to certain answers. Those answers create decisions and outcomes. Can you see the link of how science and spirituality are connected? Isn't this how faith and prayer guide us to the right decisions? That interconnectedness helps strengthen the argument for the importance of understanding the unseen energy of faith and the core practice of prayer. The intersection of science and faith has become an increasingly cutting edge area of study as humanity continues to question the most profound elements of our very existence. The essence of the link between faith and energy is this: that many people believe that if they embrace faith and prayer, they must then exclude the concept of energy in the universe. I believe just the opposite is true. Believing in energy and quantum science strengthens my faith and my purposeful prayers. They feed off each other instead of excluding each other. The more you pray, the more often people will feel your energy, peace, comfort, and empathy. And for that reason, regardless of your faith or what you believe, I recommend that you pray more often. You are always making people feel something. Have you ever been around someone and you immediately felt attracted or not attracted to them? I know you will have met several people in your life where you just instantly hit it off with them because of the way that they made you feel. Believe it or not, that's part of quantum physics. That is part of the unseen energy of the world. That same unseen energy exists in other ways. Would you agree with me that there's an energy force that keeps your feet on the ground? And it's called gravity. Have you ever walked into a room and felt a peaceful energy while you were there? Conversely, have you ever walked into a place and the energy did not sit well with you? Oh, yes, I have. And I leave. Maybe it scared you or made you feel uncomfortable. Here's another excellent example. Have you ever noticed how dogs immediately take to some people, but others can't get within 10 feet of them, or they risk getting bitten? This is a perfect example of how the energy you emit says certain things about you as well. Your ability to be intentional and make people feel or not feel certain things is critical in achieving things in your life that you dream about. Remember this: you are always making people feel something. There is an energy that attracts certain things to your life, and an energy that also repels things away from you as well. I'm going to say that one again. There is an energy that attracts certain things into your life, and also an energy that also repels things away from you as well. If you have an absence of understanding of how this energy works, you are creating a considerable disservice to yourself. However, having a good understanding of this concept will serve you as well in your life. The depths to which you decide to explore this energy in quantum physics are entirely up to you. But to deny its existence is to reject something as fundamental as gravity in our world. My understanding of this energy and how it works has been critical to my success for many years now. I'm also keenly aware that the vast majority of the people that I meet are entirely oblivious to the type of energy that they emit and how they make people feel. Your ability to control and harness the energy that you put out is critical to how well you function in the world. So let me pause for a second. I told you guys I'm a network marketer. I'm in sales, marketing. And people often say, I don't know why nobody won't. They not buying from me. Nobody's joining me. Your ability to control and harness the energy you put out is critical to how well you function in the world. What energy are you putting out? Conscious or unconscious? Also understand that sometimes the energy you need to put out is loving, sometimes it's intense, and sometimes it's understanding. That is the other part of using your energy to its fullest advantage. The power of one more prayer. As I've already mentioned, but I want to stress again, faith and prayers are highly personal, and I respect every person and how they choose to practice these things. I'm happy to share what I know and believe, and if these things make sense to you and help you achieve a higher degree of faith and more focused prayers, that will make me happy. I firmly believe that one more prayer will draw you closer to your personal faith in whatever form that faith is. Here are some of the additional things that I believe about faith and one more prayer. The stronger your faith is in whatever you believe, the deeper your commitment to your resulting cause will be. The stronger your faith is in whatever you believe, the deeper your commitment to your resulting cause will be. Now, remember, what we say we believe and what we show we believe are two different things. In strategic terms, think of it this way. If you have faith and you pray that you are the right person for a job promotion, or that you deserve to land a big deal because you have faith, you are the right fit to solve another person or company's problem, the harder you're going to work to make that become a reality. At times, your faith will waver, and there will be times in your life when you will have questions for your God. You must ask these questions and test your faith. Unless you get answers or at least go searching for them, you'll never strengthen your faith. You must remove doubt as you encounter it. So don't pray when it only suits you. Pray every day. Be consistent. Make it every bit the habit that exercising, eating the right foods, or telling your spouse and children that you love them is for you. You've heard the expression that there are no atheists in a foxhole. Don't wait until you're in a foxhole of your own. Pray in the good times and in the bad. Pray with honesty. Pray with intention. Do not simply go through the motions when you pray, no matter what shape your life is in. Make sure your prayers and your requests are congruent with the will of your God. The truth is explicitly stated in 1 John 5:14. If we ask anything according to his will, he hears us. So don't pray for harm or ill will upon someone else, on anyone else. It's not acceptable ever. I also believe the power of prayer has a compounding effect on your life. The longer you build your faith and prayer into an essential part of your life, the more impact it will have on you and the people who matter most to you as well. Another thing that I've learned is that when tragedy strikes, you may have a crisis faith, because there are some people that only pray during crises. But I've also learned that it is when you need faith, that is when you need faith and your prayers the most. And finally, at times, others will challenge you or ostracize you for your faith and how you pray. They may not stop long enough to understand your beliefs, or they may generalize based on their own beliefs and quite possibly their own shortcomings. My response to people like that is that your relationship with God is more important than what people think they know and assume about you. If you can place your God first, then you are well on your way to effectively incorporating faith and power of one more prayer into your life. And now we are at chapter 19, and I think we're on good timing. We're on chapter 19, one last, one more. I've had many epiphanies since I started writing The Power of One More. However, one of them stands above all of the others. I realized my life and business philosophy comes from my relationship with my hero and my father, Edward Joseph Mylett Jr. My belief that people can change, and the reason I'm in the field of helping people do better in life is because the man that I love and look to above all other things did just that. Although I've shared several things with you, none is more essential and or difficult to write for me to write about than one last one more. When you watch the person you're closest to in life live a certain way and then commit to a profound change when faced with one last one more, it not only changes them, it changes you too. Over the course of his lifetime, this is a story of how my father taught me one of life's most priceless lessons. And I know that you'll find value in it too. The lesson of one last, one more begins here. My father was a banker by profession, a hardworking man who never missed a day of work. He was also an alcoholic for the first 15 years of my life. He paid a horrible price as he suffered through the disease. And by extension, the people he loved paid a steep price too. We became the collateral damage in a war that raged inside of him. Although we had a very loving family, his illness created anxiety and worry in all of us. It was tough to watch my father struggle every day with something I knew he wanted to rid from himself. But ironically, I will tell you, his drinking happened for me and not to me. Even more so, my father's alcoholism happened for him and not to him. That's because through his illness, my father eventually found his true calling in life. His drinking happened for me because most of the skills that I use to this day are because I was raised by an alcoholic father. For example, I learned to read body language, tonality, and facial expressions as a young boy. I first developed it by learning how to read which father would come home from work. Would it be sober, and would it be the sober, loving father, or the intoxicated and detached father? I got to the point where I could figure out this by how my dad would insert a key into the front door lock. If he struggled and fumbled to get the key in the lock, I knew that he had been drinking. Conversely, when the key slid into the lock without hesitation, I knew what that meant as well. Once inside, I paid attention to how he talked and walked, his body language, his demeanor, and his attitude. It was always a guessing game as to whether I would avoid him until he went to bed, or I would get to go out and play catch with him in the backyard. When you're 8 years old, and this is a skill you need to have for a better home life, you learn that lesson quickly and you learn it well. Although deep down, my father was a kind-hearted man, when he was drinking, his actions didn't align with his character. Many times he was not only emotionally removed from the rest of us, but he was physically removed from time to time as well. There were days and nights when he wouldn't come home, and we all knew the reason why. Despite this affliction, my father was my best friend, and I looked up to him. He was my hero, my confidant, advisor, and the person I trusted above all others. He made me and my three sisters feel special, and we all thought about him in the same way, despite challenges in our own family. In our own families, I know many of you have experienced the things my sisters and I did. As a young boy, every son starts out thinking his father is perfect, someone who can do no wrong. Unfortunately, the nature of life is that a father is human and he will make mistakes along the way. And as a father now, I certainly know I've made them. But when you're a young boy, and if you're like I was, you stand in awe of your father, you gladly make him your hero, and you look beyond those mistakes and imperfections. However, I didn't look up to him because I thought he was perfect. In fact, just the opposite was true. It was his ability to overcome his mistakes and shortcomings that made him more extraordinary in my eyes. I'll never know exactly why my dad turned to drinking, and I don't think any of us figured out why it became an addiction for him. Difficult, challenging, and tragic things happen to everyone. Difficult, challenging, and tragic things happen to everyone, which means there will come a time in your life when these things happen to you. Like it or not, the clock will run out, and no amount of praying, wishing, or begging will deny this inevitability. Sorry, y'all. One of the immutable laws, the law of the universe, is that everything comes with an expiration date. Let that sink in for a moment. Sooner or later, everything ends. No matter who you are or what you're going through, change will come to you. This is not meant to depress you. It's meant to create a sense of urgency for you, in you. It is also to remind you that things are happening for you and not to you. At several times in your life, you'll reach the end of your journey and you'll come face to face with one more. In these times, you'll make choices that define your character and change the course of your life. Your world changes when you realize your days on earth are finite. Many people come to this realization earlier than others, and some are actually aware of it, but can't break free from those heavy chains they forged. At some point, we're bound together by one mores. We can't run from them, y'all, because everything has an expiration date. And everyone has an expiration date. So we must learn to face them the best possible way. Learn to live your life the best way you know how before those days come. You can't stop or slow down for the march of time and those inevitable changes. All you can do is make the most of what you have right now. In this way, you can intentionally guide your fate. It's how you can live your life with fewer burdens, regrets, anger, and sadness. And yes, it's not easy. Change rarely is. When I was 15, my dad was confronted with the biggest one last more of his life. My mother gave him an ultimatum. Either you get sober or you lose your family. You won't get another chance, she told him. I'll never forget what my dad said to me when faced with this. Eddie, I'm going to go away for a while and I'm going to stop drinking. And when I come back, you're going to have the father that you deserve. Your sisters are going to have the dad that they deserve. And your mother is going to have the husband worthy of her. I had heard this before and I wanted desperately to believe him. So I asked, how is this going to be any different? I never seen my dad cry before, but that day with tears in his eyes, he said, I have one more chance, Eddie. One last, one more. My father, who struggled with his addiction and tried to get sober many times before, took those words to heart. The stakes were now so high that one more failure was no longer an option. So I'm so grateful, y'all, that I am looking at people that are like, oh, okay, I got one more chance to go into action. Like, I've got one more chance. And literally, for my team that's running for this Cancun trip, they got one more few hours, less than 6, to secure their trip, right? So here's the lesson that I took that I want to share with you. Linking huge emotional reasons to what you want to accomplish is the key to why you must be willing to go through the difficult struggles associated with change. The reasons to change must be overwhelmingly more significant than the obstacles that you face, so that obstacles are dwarfed in comparison. If you show me somehow somebody with big enough reasons to change in their life, I'll show you somebody capable of making that change. I'm often asked where you can find those reasons. You need to look no further than the dreams or the people in your life. That's like people who say, I would die for my kids. And I keep saying, well, will you live for them? Because if you would die for your kids, would you get healthy for them? You can't watch everybody else around you die from being sick and then you not want to do something, and you know you've got children left on this earth, right? So will you live for them? What is the emotion? The emotion that's saying, okay, overwhelmingly, right? Significant than the obstacles that you face, so that the obstacles you are dwarfed in comparison. I'm often asked where you can find those reasons. You need to look no further than your dreams or the people in your life. For my father, the tough challenge of getting and staying sober was nowhere near as significant as the reason to change, which was the catastrophic possibility of losing his family. To him, as a devoted and loving family man, there was no more significant loss than taking his family away from him. Until that time, my father was a man who had not lived up to his life, up to the life, up to a life he was capable of living. And he knew it. He also knew that he had to change, and he did. My father didn't go looking for redemption when he got sober, but that's exactly what he found. Part of that redemption is revealed on the pages of this book. Although I'm writing it, the things you've read about are a shared legacy with him. I'm often asked how I got into the business of helping others. It wasn't by accident. It was because of my father. The power of one more is a direct result of my father's influence on me. My desire to help others reflect my father's determination to devote his life to helping others after he got sober. Through his work with Alcoholics Anonymous, my father embraced the idea of living one more day sober, a core mantra of AA. In fact, it became the entire premise of his life. That may sound like a small thing to overcome if you've never battled addiction, but in the world of an alcoholic, winning this fight one more day at a time means everything. Once he committed to it, my dad didn't try to stay sober every remaining day of his life. He tried to stay sober one more day of his life, one day at a time, stacked upon each other until the days became weeks and months and they became years. The difference in that kind of mindset means everything to a recovering alcoholic. If you're reading this and you're thinking about quitting on your dream, your business that you started, or anything important to you, don't put pressure on yourself to meet that goal for 5 or 10 years or the rest of your life. Instead, think about not quitting for one more day. One more day. Take things one more small step at a time. Make your goal of not quitting manageable and easier to achieve. All you need to do is get through today. Tomorrow you can start again and conquer your battles with a one more mentality. In your darkest and most challenging times, I know many of you think about quitting and giving up. When those thoughts occur to you, just hold on for one more day. Don't quit for one more day. As I mentioned, for the longest time, I didn't fully realize the entire premise of my life, the entire premise of my life came from my father, his attempts to get sober, and his belief in the one more. But that's exactly how I lived. That's how exactly how he lived the final 35 years of his life. It bears repeating because one more is the lesson of this book. My dad had suffered from chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, CPOD, for several years, but still managed to get around well most of the time. And then one day, he started laboring heavily during one of our golf rounds. A month later, he was diagnosed with liposarcoma, a rare type of cancer that develops in the fatty tissues and can grow anywhere in your body. Shortly after that, my dad underwent a 12-hour surgery to remove a tumor the size of a football in his chest. He never complained through the surgeries. He never complained through the chemotherapy, radiation, medications, and the other treatments that followed. He hid the severity of his illness from us, knowing we would be upset if we knew how much he was suffering. My father battled his cancer for 9 long years before passing away from related respiratory complications on October 30th, 2020. Less than a year ago, as I write this, he was 72 years old. There is a crushing void in my life where he used to be. I miss him like no other, and I still struggle with not having him around. I long for our conversations and the time we spent together. While I expect the hole where he was in my life to get smaller over time, deep down, I know I'll continue to miss him every day I remain on this earth. The magic of time is that it allows us to heal and reflect. And that's precisely what I've done since my father's passing. It's an ongoing process, but I've been able to put some perspective on his life and how all of us can take away important lessons from who Edward Joseph Mylett Jr. was and who he continues to be. There are three things I want you to know about one last, one more. Number one, live a one last, one more life as often as you can. Number two, one last, one more works best when you treat every day as a new life. Three, understand that it's never too late for one last, one more. When you live a one last, one more life as often as you can, you approach life with a high degree of urgency. What if you were allowed, what if you were only allowed one last, one more dance with the person you love? What if you could only have one last, one more conversation with your children? What would you say to them and how would you say it? Think about your life if you only had one last, one more chance to tell your spouse that you love them. Consider how you would act if, like my father, you were given one last, one more chance to be the parent, the sibling, the child, or the friend you always wanted to be. When you approach life with a one last, one more mentality, your priorities become clear. You are more grateful for God's gifts that have been given to you. You respect and appreciate time, and you will become a better human being. Here's the best example I could tell you of how one last, one more impacted my relationship with my dad. My father and I loved to play golf. When I was a young man, we would play rounds at El Prado Golf Course in Chino, California. For us, it became our haven, a place where we could go to unwind, laugh, and share our thoughts and problems with each other. We had lively discussions about politics all the time. We also talked about spirituality, the meaning of life, and about his children and grandchildren. In our quieter moments, he'd reflect on some of the regrets of in his life, mainly about the chances that he didn't take. The chances that he didn't take. Although he was proud of me, my dad always stressed that while my business success was beyond admirable, he made sure I understood my relationships with my family and friends are what mattered most. He cared little about the houses that I owned, my wealth, and all the other trappings of success. Instead, he was more concerned about the man that I was, how I treated people, what difference I was making in the world, and whether I was living a good and virtuous life. What he valued remains one of my most important lessons he ever taught me. It has kept me grounded to this day. Our talks were deep, and over the years, he became the only person who knew everything about me. Even as I approached 50 years old, he was the first person I called for advice. In fact, my dad was the only person I ever called for advice. He was also the first person I called whenever something happened, good or bad. As my career took off and I started to enjoy a measure of success, I wanted to give my dad the gift of playing one of the finest golf courses in the world. So around Christmas holidays for many years, the two of us would travel to Pebble Beach for an annual father and son golf getaway. It was a small measure of thanks for all he had given me. And those times are among the most meaningful moments of my life. Whether it was playing at El Prado or Pebble Beach, these trips were not so much about golf as they were about spending time together. It could have just easily been about going fishing, turning wrenches on a classic car, taking in a ball game, or whatever common interest fathers and sons enjoy together. Although I had grown into a man, I needed my dad as much as ever. As a father with my own challenges, my dad provided wise counsel and a place I could go to for life advice, as only a father can. I miss so many things about my dad, but I miss these golf outings the most. I always had a sense of how important they were, but now that my father is gone, they've taken on a new level of meaning. Make no mistake, it's not the golf that I miss. It's the hours that I spent with him just sharing time. I would give anything for one more round of golf with my dad. Many times I still can't believe that he's gone. Months after he passed, I spoke to an audience of several thousand people, and I couldn't wait to get off the stage to call my dad like past conversations. I was excited to go over what went well and what I could have done better. It wasn't until the adrenaline left my body and I was standing backstage by myself that I realized I couldn't do that any longer. I can't tell you how many times I had that same initial rush and awkward feeling since my dad's passing. But I can tell you with certainty and with clarity of what one more means in all parts of my life has never been greater. If you take nothing else away from this book, I'm telling you now, if you have someone in your life who means a lot to you, start living your life with a one more mentality toward them. Cherish every moment that you spend together and live your life in ways that will make you proud and even make you happy. Don't wait. My father would be embarrassed if he thought that this book was about him. For his sake and mine, it's not. This book is about you and your families, your soul, your relationships with others, and the legacies that you are creating. I'm only using my relationship with my father to help you understand why living one more life is the urgent frame of mind you need to live your best life. The second thing I want you to understand is that to fully appreciate one more, treat every day as a new life because there are no guarantees. You or someone you care about can be here one moment and gone the next. You are blessed every second you're alive, and you need to approach those moments with extreme gratitude. Learn to appreciate things big and small and the people God has brought into your life. Release the thoughts and people that weigh you down. When you let these things go, you replace them with the opportunities and relationships that were meant for you. Your priorities will change as you cast off the past. Too many people get stuck in the quicksand of their memories and they drown needlessly in the guilt, the anger, the stupid grudges that only hurt themselves. Instead, when you wake up in the morning, tell yourself this: every day I am alive, I am reborn. When you let go of your past, you create space for the here and now. You can bring energy and enthusiasm to the fleeting nature of the one mores into your life. You can direct your energy to what matters and not things that will destroy your inner well-being and your relationship with others. When you treat every new day as a new life, you'll find more enjoyment and bliss in the things that serve you well. If you must have one more conversation with someone, one last hug before a goodbye, one last dance before someone you care about goes away, you can do so with a clear mind, free of the mental garbage that gets in the way of living your best life. Don't spoil today by lugging that garbage around. Instead, toss it away and get on with the things that matter. The third and final thing is to know that it's never too late for one more. After my father died, I came across several index cards as I was putting away some of his things. On these cards were scribbled codes like 14JL and 13PT. They were scattered on his vanity unit and taped to his bathroom mirror. These codes were dates and initials of someone's names, and there were hundreds of them. I soon figured out every one of those cards represented a person that my dad helped get sober, and the dates were that person's sobriety anniversary date. Here's the remarkable part. On those dates, my father would call that person and wish them a happy sobriety birthday and congratulate them. His message to them was simple: all you must do is stay sober for one more day. He made those calls hundreds of times a year, every year, including the last days of his life. Even while he was on oxygen, struggling to breathe, and could barely whisper, he still reached out and made calls to the people on those note cards. Although he was in severe pain and agony, and he knew that he would pass away soon, my father had to help one more person. Nobody was watching. Nobody would have known whether he made those calls or not. However, because my father lived a one more life, this was an opportunity for him to help one more human being. And in the end, my father's one more was a phone call to another person in need shortly before he passed away. I've never been so moved or prouder of my dad. His quiet, kind, and humble gestures remain a profound example of service to others that I may never match. Now, you know why I've made it my sincere mission to try and help as many people as possible in my life too. I did it to honor my father. Coming back from the brink of losing his family and everything that he worked for, my father found purpose and redemption. He made the most of the one more chance that he was given. One physical being dies, and we do pass from this earth at some point. But my father's one more legacy will live through the ages. We should all be so lucky to live our lives out that well. Our God, in his infinite wisdom, gave us the power of forgiveness. Take this gift to heart. If you have a challenging relationship with someone you care about, find a way to set aside your differences. You simply don't know what comes next. When you find it in your heart to make one more a priority in your life, not only will you lighten the chains of another person, but you'll lighten your chains in life as well. And as I watched my father take his final breath, it dawned on me that one day we'll all face our one more, our last year on earth, our last month, our last week, and our last day, our last hour, and all too soon, our final breath. You can't control the end, but you can control the story in between. Your ability to live your life, your best life, is going to be shaped in large part by the one mores. I've revealed to you in this book. These thoughts and actions will build the story of your life so that when you do take that one last breath, you can be proud of the life that you've lived. Don't wait for one mores to find you. Go after them with urgency and purpose. Don't wait for the one mores to find you. I'm going to say it again. Go after them with urgency. Don't wait. Go after them with urgency. You'll unlock the most difficult and essential one more lesson you can learn when you do this. And in doing so, you may just unlock the secret to life itself. That ends the reading of The Power of One More by Ed Mylett. That was a phenomenal book. I felt invigorated up to the very last period in the book, and I pray that all of you enjoyed The Power of One More by Ed Mylett as much as I have. If nothing more, you guys, especially when you think of people that may have already had their one more, what Ed Mylett is saying is live their legacy now. Don't grieve, right? He's saying live the legacy. Don't grieve, but live out the legacy and watch those spans of time. Oh, my book fell. Get shorter and shorter in between where you have sadness because the power of the one more. So, guys, our next book will be Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. This is an amazing, amazing read. I know you guys think that this is like a huge book, but it's not. It's just because I got the big print book because the font was so tiny that I said, okay, I cannot. I see you in the studio, Jack. Did you want to have a comment? Or you just joining me back here? What you got there? Hold on one second. That ending was amazing. All right, Jack, what you got for us?
Yes.
Yeah.
What you talk about with the between faith, the energy. I
And
was
science.
getting what?
And science, faith, energy, and science.
I was getting confused at first, but I got my law of attraction life coaching, and this was at a point in my life where I was in turmoil, but I grew in faith, also with the other two, and it was helping me so much that I got to understand. Some went back a little bit, but it's just like if we have my father passed away 20 years ago and also had dealings with a brother who had an affair with my first wife and things like that. You have to forgive yourself. And I was learning a lot with uh, the energy and others, the faith, the science was just the thing that got me over the rest of the family because I think they're still hurt at my brother that did that. But I had to forgive myself so I can forgive him. And we have to do that with anyone. I have to do that with my ex-wife. I have to do it with anyone that I'm hurt about. We have to look at ourselves too. And that's I forgot the guy's name, but it's Ho'oponopono. And so, but this book, I started tearing up even because I have someone that's an alcoholic in the family, and my three kids get involved with it, and I know what it's like. And I know the veterans that I lived with before, how they dealt with it.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much with this that can help.
Yeah, that last chapter is phenomenal and is very moving. Thank you so much for sharing, Jack. Thank you for coming on. Thank you, you guys. All right, so listen, we are finished. Yeah, I can see his emotions, and it was full. He was very full. Thank you for joining us. Um, what a phenomenal book, you guys. That's all I can say. It is 7:02. We ended right on the nose. 2 chapters done. Right in the nick of time. So we're gonna go ahead and get off of here. This book was so fantastic, y'all. And always remember, y'all, don't forget next Monday we will start Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. But always remember that no matter what you're going through in life, that you can live again, laugh again, hope again, dream again, and you most certainly can bling again. Listen, have a bling-tastic rest of your evening. Have a bling-tastic week. For all of the children that are going back to school this week down in the South, be safe. And we pray a hedge of protection over them. We know that all the parents are like, woohoo, party time, right? But pay it forward, do a good deed, be kind to one another. And don't forget to share that we have book club here every single Monday, you guys. I can't wait till we're able to go away to a book club retreat and we meet around the campfire and we read together and we pour into each other. I can't wait. It's coming soon. And don't you forget that I love you and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. Good night and God bless you all.